Anyway, we'll look at this. This shit, apparently, there's a lot of fucking homeless people that are in New York. It's crazy. I think there's a lot of homeless people everywhere. It's real bad. New York City just banned homeless people from the subway. I wonder why. I wonder what could possibly have been the reason for that.
Beneath the glimmering sidewalks of Herald Square, homeless outreach workers are pleading with a man with bare feet. Others approach another man who refuses to move.
This breaks my heart right here.
Mayor Adams is determined to change.
So every winter when temperatures drop, the subway sadly turns into a place of refuge for New York City's homeless. And while the city has plans to relocate unhoused individuals out of America's largest public transit network, activists say the homeless have a right to use the subway how they see fit.
You see how they got? Look. What if you're a fat ass? True.
To use the subway how they see fit since it's open to the public. But as it turns out, the mayor has plans to change that.
We are getting a better idea of the progress being made under the Adams administration's controversial overnight homeless outreach program.
This is a picture-perfect example of why we should not be saying he has a right to be out there. He doesn't know he needs help.
On a crowded subway station, you've got half the subway cars taken up with people who are sleeping. They're not committing a crime per se here, but this is a symptom of a larger problem.
Yeah, it is.
Sad-looking storefronts here underground where you could once grab a slice or a newspaper or a coffee. Of 195 retail spaces in the subway system, only 52 of them are open for business. A vacancy rate of nearly 75%.
I have two young boys. They're 9 and 13. I don't want my boys walking around that. I don't feel they're safe when we see that.
It's about of course. I mean, like, because the thing is that this is another one of those situations, like what I was telling about before, is that I've had to deal with a lot. Like, this is in Austin, right? You think Austin gives a fuck about homeless people? Like, we don't give a fuck. Like, the cops don't give a fuck. Like, nobody gives a fuck. So, like, you just got homeless people. They're building rest spaces. They're building they got 2-story rest spaces under a bridge. Like, I take pictures of it, right? Because it's like, damn, that's crazy. I never thought, I didn't even think you could do that. Yeah, Hobotopia. Yeah, exactly, right? Honestly, it's impressive.
Understanding our responsibility to help people who are in desperate need, but just can't recognize it themselves. And there's nothing respectful about leaving somebody to rot.
That's actually a really good point, is that a lot of the people, I think that they usually don't have places to go in a lot of cases. And sometimes they do, but like for whatever reason, they can't go there. And it's just very problematic, extremely problematic. But like, if you put these people in a place with the public, you're going to have a lot of friction, and it's going to create, it's going to be bad for everybody. It's bad for the homeless people, and it's bad for the public too. It's like everybody loses.
Starting to say the subway is turning into an underground wasteland. And we're going to investigate this wasteland to see how bad it really is. But what nobody wants to admit is that you could drastically decrease the number of people living down here if you do more to help them live somewhere else. But our subway is actually a mess of New York City's own making, with crime and lawlessness so out of control down here. There is still a force of National Guard troops.
Yeah, they got a lot of people down there. Like, this is what they need to do. Like, because, I mean, the thing is that if you, it's like a problem that gets worse. So like, if you know that you can go down there and act the fool, you're going to have way more people doing it. Everybody's going to be doing it because now you know that's where you can go and do that. And so you have to have these people there, and it makes itself worse and worse and worse. It's a snowball effect. Exactly. Yeah.
Deployed throughout the system, monitoring it for dangerous activity, along with thousands of extra police, and city leaders know that the second they pull out, the criminals are just going to come right back. But you know something? Lawlessness doesn't stop at physical crimes like robbery and assault, which still take place down here because troops aren't riding the trains. The lawlessness down here also includes fare evasion, which costs the city roughly $700 million a year in financial losses. And
$700 million. If it costs $700 million to have fare losses, wouldn't it just be better to have somebody there and pay them like $100 grand a year to just stop them from doing that? Like, because I feel like if you have the logic, like, couldn't you save a bunch of fucking money But why did they not figure this out?
When the MTA arrests fare beaters, they tend to have active warrants. On top of that, a high-profile court case involving Jordan Neely, a homeless street performer with 42 prior arrests, has city officials admitting more people could unknowingly be putting themselves and others in harm's way. And that brings us to the real reason why the city is now taking drastic steps to move people.
42? Oh no, that dude, that dude went ape shit. That dude was going wild.
Homeless, living in the subway, out of it. It puts people with mental health issues at risk. Fair for a city that spends as much money as New York does every year not to do more to help people who think this is the only place they have to stay. And with the city's controversial congestion pricing scheme, which will tax drivers who refuse to use the subway, the powers that be have decided that if they're going to punish everyone who doesn't use our dangerous public transit networks, they better not do it while also punishing the homeless by neglecting them. But as you're about to see, the city's efforts to help people move out of this place aren't exactly going as planned.
See, I just wish that all those protesters that want to go and sing and talk about how bad Donald Trump is and scream and screech outside of his fucking building, why aren't you over here on the subways helping these crazy people? Why aren't you helping these people? Like, some of these people are not even crazy. They're just, life is fucked, right? Like, their leg doesn't work or something. Like, like every single time I see a protest somewhere, it's like, how can you be protesting some bullshit like this when you have people that are homeless? Like, if you just took your time and you put your gas money for $5, everybody put $5 together, make these people food, help them do something, it would be instantly, it's hard. Yeah, exactly, right? Well, that takes actual work. And it's a lot easier to go outside the Trump building and, oh, right. Yeah, I'm fighting fascism. Uh-huh.
"34th Street Herald Square subway terminal, which is quite large, quite warm, and sadly has become a visual display of the humanitarian crisis taking place beneath the streets of New York City. In fact, this particular area where we're standing right now with this green backdrop here, this used to be the entrance to a mall which has become abandoned, and it's a place where people have been sleeping in the evenings. At least that was what was going on down here until the city decided to take steps to stop that from happening. Steps which many say are extremely controversial. At the same time, look at this place. It's loud, it's bright, there's dripping water, there's trash all over the place. This is not...
It's a shithole.
Tagged along says that 96 individuals were found to be sleeping in this one terminal. And there's an extremely high likelihood that if this investigation had taken place in more places than just that the sad state of affairs down here would be even more obvious. Furthermore, this tag-along only included a stroll through this terminal. They didn't ride the trains, where there are many people who sadly are calling that their temporary home. And although the total number of homeless living in the subway is unknown, this article estimates it could be as high as 4,100 people. And there could be more people living down here in the subway than in some small towns in America, which is shocking. However, what's even more shocking is that the city's efforts to help move people from here to an actual place which has been set aside for them to stay haven't exactly been working.
Each night, nurses and social workers are teaming up with New York City police officers, part of the mayor's latest initiative to offer shelter and services to the homeless and to involuntarily commit those with severe mental illness who refuse treatment.
So this is the part where things get controversial. Every night you've got these outreach teams that scour the subway looking for folks who might be down here and might not have anywhere else to go. And their goal is to help them go somewhere better than this. And the way this is done is by approaching an individual who might be sleeping or lounging about the platform and asking them if they need assistance, which activists say constitutes harassment, while ignoring the inhuman.
Activists say it constitutes harassment. Well, why aren't activists doing anything that constitutes help? Oh, that's right. Because they're activists. They act like they're helping.
of letting people think this dangerous environment is the only place they've got to stay. However, the New York Post says of the 96 people who were contacted and asked if they needed assistance, only 16 agreed to accept. Yet the city does have the authority to involuntarily commit people who could be a danger to themselves and others, something the governor...
Which they should do, by the way. It's not even a question. They obviously should do this.
Says could have saved Jordan Neely, who was part of an altercation in the subway which made national headlines. And sadly, the governor makes a good point. If you've got people living in the subway who are not in the right frame of mind to take care of themselves and nothing is done, those people are at risk.
They put everybody at risk, and they cost the city a lot of money. Like, let's say there's another Jordan Neely, and, you know, he gets out or... Well, this is going to be like the train is delayed, everybody's upset, there's a bunch of police that come down, there's a trial. This is collectively millions of dollars of a problem. $1 million problem. Multi-million-dollar problems. You can't let that shit happen.
New Yorkers know how much money they are paying in taxes. And when they get on the subway and they want to ride it and they're either unable to or there's no room to get a seat because someone happens to be living there, they say to themselves, where is this money going if it's not being used to take care of people who have nothing? At the same time, 2025 is a local election year here in the city, which some say has a lot to do with why new steps are being taken to change how things have been getting done around here.
And what's going to happen is that I bet what's going to happen in New York is the same thing that happened like in a lot of places, is that because people that are like of a liberal leaning refuse to address and solve this problem, people will go towards a much more right-wing solution than what they actually want because of how fed up they are with the problem.
This is a picture-perfect
Guatemalan. Yeah. He's not from here.
He should not be saying he has a right to be out there. He doesn't know he needs help. We have to give him that.
Now, progressive policies say that it would be wrong to intervene in a man's life when he is spiraling out of control, because doing so would take away his right to self-determination and the pursuit of happiness as he sees fit. And for a long time, various leaders of New York have treated the subway as just another public space and have made people feel bad about their desire to see people who are there and are obviously in distress.
Well, he's going to die then? Yeah, no, I mean, like, if you want to look at it and say, like, well, it's a battle royale, that's fine. Okay, sure. But, like, whenever this guy gets stabbed and beaten up and then he's dead the next day, then, you know, that's kind of on you because you let that happen.
In some way, something that would also make America's largest public transit network safer and more usable for those who pay to use it. On top of that, a public transit network is not designed as a living quarters for anybody. And at present, state lawmakers are considering the Supportive Interventions Act, which would say that a person in need of medical or psychiatric care can be forcibly removed from the streets. But the only terrifying thing about this is it would be the government who determines who needs a psychiatric evaluation, and that's not going to sit right with everybody. And in the future, what if an act like that is abused? However, proponents...
Oh, I think it's the right solution. It is. It's the right. It's not a good solution, but it's the best solution that creates the least friction. It definitely will have negative outcomes, but it will create positive outcomes at a higher ratio than anything else. Yep. No, I think this is a huge issue. And I think it's an issue everywhere. And I think that the homeless issue is probably a great indicator. It's like one of those things where I was saying, like, this is the example of the kinds of people that think that they're helping. And I think also with a lot of these people, too, they never have to live with the consequences of their own altruism. And so, like, a lot of them... They think that it's like, oh, well, you know, you can just let them live that way and, you know, oh, it's fine. It's not that bad. You know, it's like, well, how do you know it's not that bad? Like, or you're not there. And so I think that's like another really big issue, right? It's everyone's tough. They're all affected. Yeah, I think so, too. The problem is human nature and how people don't like to ask for help, even though they're suffering. I would say that, like, I mean, you want to talk about, like, asking for help or whatever. The main issue is crime studies have shown ramping up police presence lowers crime drastically from a physiological standpoint. Most people commit crime because they think they won't get caught. Yeah, of course. Obviously, that's true. Building more housing helps people who are struggling to make ends meet as it lowers pressure on housing prices. Yeah, I mean, like with New York, it's probably hard to do because, like, you know, it's already like so developed at the same point. But yeah, and I think this is going to be universal basic income can't come soon enough. No, there'll be people with universal basic income that'll waste all of their money on drugs and they'll still be living in the subway. It's because some people are just stupid, and they're stupid, they're bad with money, they're impulsive, and they don't think. And like, you know, some people, it's just way fewer, though. Yeah, there's definitely going to be less of them. This is a really good video, though. It is.